So you've graduated from a top fashion school. You've got the talent, the vision, but what happens next? You'd think a great education prepares you for everything, right? Well, that's not always the case. This week on Get Real with Gab, I'm talking with the incredibly talented Taisha Mae. She's a recent graduate from a renowned Australian design school, and she came to me because she wanted to launch her own label, but felt completely stuck. During our meeting, we uncovered something pretty shocking. We realised that the key fundamentals, the actual business of how the Australian fashion industry works, simply weren't taught in her program. Now, full disclosure, I started my career in fashion design over 30 years ago, and the advice I gave Tasha is based on decades of real-world, in-the-trenches experience right here in Australia. Our conversation in this episode is a deep dive into those missing pieces. We talk about the essential principles you absolutely need to know before you can even think about starting your own brand. This isn't just theory, this is the practical foundational knowledge that turns a talented designer into a successful entrepreneur. So if you're a budding fashionista, or if you're serious about turning your design dreams into a real business, then this interview is a must-watch. I hope you enjoy this incredibly honest and valuable conversation with Taisha Mae.
In my personal life, I ended up getting a puppy, so that's kind of taken.
See, hi. Oh my god, so cute.
Yeah, this is the older one, and I'm currently sitting on the floor with the. This is the little one.
Oh my god, what's its name?
His name's Alfred.
Oh my god, Alfred's so cute. Oh
Yeah,
my
so I've
goodness.
got Alfred, and this one's Oswald at the back. So.
Oh my goodness, I love dogs. I've got literally two sitting beside me snoring at the moment. So
Oh, love that.
also, wow. So okay, you've got another puppy who is
Yeah.
very, very adorable.
So it's been taking up a bit of my time, but I think I've spent like 3 weeks just trying to do the like market research stuff.
Yeah,
Which
very extensive. Well done. How did you
I
find
wasn't
the
100%
process?
sure if I was doing it correctly, so if that's right, then I'm glad.
There's no right or wrong.
Oh,
So
okay.
because
Yeah.
you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the thing, you have to start somewhere to get you thinking around, okay, what is or who is my customer? Why am I doing this? What are my values? What
Yeah.
do I want to bring to the fashion world? So
Mhm.
well done. I was actually just reading over it again. Like I read it when you first sent it through, and then I thought, I'll just read it over again,
Yeah.
looking at your SWOT analysis and all of that. Oh, not your SWOT, your customer analysis and all of that as well.
Mhm.
So, which is fantastic. So, yeah. So, how did you find, I guess, the process?
It was really good. Like, just I thought I knew all of that stuff already, and so I was like, oh yeah, just and then I realized it was only like 2 or 3 sort of points for each thing, and then I was like, oh, I actually need to know a lot more than what I thought I already knew. So it was it was good, but it was weird at the same time because it was like stepping into someone else's shoes. Like, why would they want to buy what I'm going to be selling? And it was definitely enlightening to be like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so maybe that probably wouldn't work because, they wouldn't want to spend that much money on that, but they'd want to do this. And so it was really, really good. So thank you for that.
Yeah. No, that's okay. And especially when it comes to financial
Yes.
as well, because again, like, and we haven't even looked at the financial side of your business yet. Like that will come,
Yeah.
but it's looking at, okay, with your, I guess, customer analysis, which was fantastic and really in depth. You've identified, okay, luxury, what the costs of that is. You've understood also, I guess,
the mainstream side of who's in that mainstream, and where do you fit in that? Because obviously there's a price you are thinking about you would like to charge your customers, but it's still an unknown at the moment because we don't know where we're manufacturing. We don't know, what the cost of our goods are, materials, trims, all of these sorts of things which we need to consider once we get down that road and start costing your garments.
Yeah.
So well done. I'm really proud as punch that you got through that, and you found it really, really useful because as a business owner you have to kind of understand who is my customer,
Yeah.
because ultimately we've got to understand, okay, now how in the hell am I going to market to it? And at least if you understand where they go to receive information, you've ticked the first box. A lot of people I speak to don't necessarily know even where they would shop or buy their product or service.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, because most people when they get into business, you have an idea around what it could be, but unless you step out of your own I guess realm of what the business is about and someone who's purchasing, you kind of got to think about, okay, what do they do?
Yeah.
What do they like? Where do they work?
Yeah.
So yeah, so well done.
Thank you.
Awesome. So tell me some of the other things that's been happening then as well in this process. Like there's a lot of other things we've got to, I guess, discuss, deep dive in this process, but just tell me more around where you're at the moment.
I think the main thing that's probably consuming my thoughts at the moment for the past few weeks is just manufacturing, like where I'm going to do that and sort of how I'm going to go about doing it, just because pattern making is not my strong suit. I'm more of I'll draw up the idea and I'll choose the fabrics and stuff, but when it comes to like the tech packs and all of that stuff, my degree didn't really help me with that, so I'm a bit like, oh, where do I go for that? And then it's thinking about, like, I've found a couple of like Australian sort of places, but there's one in Melbourne called like Spec to Sample, but I mean they still manufacture overseas. But like I'm not opposed to manufacturing overseas, but it's kind of like, my question is, do I want a middleman like in a so what I'm trying to say, my end goal would be to have like my own little office going where I've got someone who does pattern making, someone who does specs and all that stuff. So I'm like, do I start with a company like Spec to Sample where I tell them what I want and then they go and do, and then sort of say, okay, thanks, bye, I'm going to do this on my own? Or do I just start out on my own and sort of like, yeah, that's kind of where I'm stuck at.
Well, yeah, this is the big thing because, and if you look at it in any business, you may, I guess, start somewhere, but then end up down the track doing what you want to do because you have money to do that, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
the way I would look at this process, and a lot of businesses do that, a lot of businesses I've worked for have started out where they've outsourced pattern making because at the time there may not have been resources for a pattern maker, okay? Or they've actually gone direct overseas where they've supplied the tech packs, so they've gotten help in doing tech packs, or they've just fumbled their way through it.
Yep.
And they've refined that process once they've connected with a supplier they like and they trust, and they work with that supplier. Now, I guess, if you're looking at obviously implementing a pattern maker, and then someone, like the only time you would really get a tech pack involved is if you then want to manufacture overseas.
Yeah.
Okay. So generally, if you're doing, fabric design, trim design, and all all of that, you know, you would have in your, I guess, do you work off Adobe or?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you would have in your Adobe system folders based on your seasons of trims, designs, capsules, whatever it is. So you would have base per season on that. You would then, if you are manufacturing overseas, then you would have obviously your tech pack that
Yeah.
would have your trims, it'd have fabrications, it would have obviously the spec sheet, it would have fit comment tabs, all of that kind of information.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And then obviously if for example you didn't want to manufacture overseas, then you would obviously work with a manufacturer. You would still have a tech pack, but that tech pack would be very different because that tech pack is almost like, here you go, so it's sewing instructions, it's trim instructions, it's how do they make that garment, and then obviously do it on a mass scale, if that makes sense. Or when I say mass scale, whatever your units are.
Yeah.
But it would work also differently because if you were having embroidery, you would have a I guess a pack for that embroidery where it'd be printed off. It would go to them for sampling. They would do all that design up. You'd get a sample. It'd come back to you. It's approved, and then that embroidery information would then go with production. So it's a little bit more involved and a bit more information if you're manufacturing locally. The one thing I would consider initially, because you can always aim to work, to manufacture within Australia. There are more resources for manufacturing in Melbourne than what there is in obviously Sydney.
Yeah.
But take into consideration that you will still need to be able to source fabrications. You still need to be able to, if you are wanting trims, you're going to have to go through a third party or direct to China to manufacture those trims. And so you're going to have a lot more inherent costs in that process. Whereas if it was in China, it's a bundled price and you get what's called FOB in US dollars. And that's what it's going to cost per item in the fabric, color, embroidery, and all of that you want.
Yeah.
And we just deliver that garment to you, packed in a poly bag, or if you've got specific bags, you want it packed in, so then you can pick and pack orders that way. So it's something that you'll need to consider. So if this place in Melbourne does the pattern making and they have the manufacturing offshore, and they do fabric sourcing, trim sourcing, and all of that, then I would probably be investigating that further to see, okay, what does that cost look like? What are my MOQs, so my minimum order quantities? How much does sampling cost? How much does the pattern making cost, or is that included in the sampling costs?
Right. Yeah.
Because generally, if you look at creating your first capsule, so the first thing that you would do is you design your collection. Okay. Actually, even before that, you would look at, okay, what is obviously my mood board for this season? So if we look at our mood board for inspiration, it could have everything from colors, textures, silhouettes. There could be cultural references. There could be embroidery, print, all of those things. So you'd create your vision and concept board around that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then step 2 would be, okay, I need to design a collection around that. But in that process, you would be looking at, okay, I need to also at the same time start looking at fabric choices, trims, or am I wanting to develop trims, any kind of finishes. You need to think about the sizing that you want to create your pieces in.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of your next big chunk, is that we need to look at creating my inspiration board.
Mm-hmm.
We need to, and actually before we even do that, the first thing I would probably do is call this supplier in Melbourne and get an idea of costs. Please send me the costs of, if I was to get my initial samples pattern made and made from you, and then production done. What are my sampling costs, including pattern making and sewing costs? Okay.
Yep.
Do they have a library of resources in terms of fabrication, trims, embroidery, things like that?
Mm-hmm.
Do they also have the capabilities to, if I'm wanting a specific trim design, what is involved in that, and what's the minimum order quantities if I did wanted to do that? So to give you an example, you know the brand AJE?
Yeah.
They, part of what their, trim development is that they have buttons every season that's branded.
Right.
Or they'll have, if it's not a branded item, they may develop for example, they may want, I don't know, a hexagon shaped button or widget or something, or a hardware piece that's going to go on a garment. So they may develop that hardware piece. They might see if they can get it in the local market, and if not, they may develop it so it's a branded hardware piece.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Okay. So again, that could be, looking at buttons and trims. So, and asking those questions. Okay, if I come to you and yep, you do sampling. Okay, what's the sampling process? If I give you obviously the fabrications I'm looking at, do you send me samples of those fabrications so I can pick and choose the qualities I like and the colors I like based on my mood board?
Yeah.
Does it include embroidery? Like, get them to explain that process.
Yeah.
And then say, okay, we've got our sampling. What does it cost if I need a second fit sample?
Right.
Because obviously we've got to do alterations, and those alterations have to occur to the patterns as well.
Mm-hmm.
So just ask them, okay, what would it cost for alterations and a second fit sample?
Yeah. Okay.
And then, okay, we're going to go, if we do production through with this company, okay, what is the minimum order quantity?
Mm-hmm.
What is the lead time? So the lead time is how long does it take to manufacture?
Yes.
What is the cost? Is it FOB? So which is free on board, which means that everything's paid to get it on that boat. What's not paid is obviously if there's duty costs in Australia, or if you've got like an import tax cost or something like that. What was the other thing I was just thinking of? So, and do they do SMS samples or a pre-production sample?
Yep.
Because again, you may want a SMS which may also be your pre-production, where you can utilize those samples for obviously campaigns and things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that's what I would do first. Get them to come back to you and just say to them, look, this is what I'm looking for. Did you communicate via email or via just phone?
Just email at first.
Great. So just go back to them via email and ask them all of those questions.
Yeah. Okay.
And obviously, the cost will be based on minimum order quantity. Okay. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Suppose my next
Okay.
question would be like, I know that I want to do the collections in small runs, and you know, most of them, once they're sold out, they're gone. But I suppose in terms of stock and stuff, I'm still pretty much clueless as to number wise and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and that's going to be a really interesting, I guess, exercise for you, because a lot of that is going to be based on, I guess, how you promote your campaign. The
Mhm.
one thing that you will need to do is that when you do talk to, talk with email, this
Mhm.
company in Melbourne, that MOQ is going to give you an indication of what your minimum order quantity is. And just make sure you ask, so what is the MOQ per style? So if I had a shirt, a pant, a jacket, for example, and a skirt, how many pieces do I have to order of each of those styles?
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's going to give you an idea. Say, do you do sample runs for small businesses like me that is just starting out? And a sample run could be in their sample room. It might be a higher cost, but they may be able to do that for you.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Because ultimately, you know, with your campaign, you know, you can do pre-sales.
Yeah, I
And
was
then,
looking into that.
yeah, and your pre-sales is that they, you know, you're promoting that for a period of time. It could be, say, for 3 weeks. You've informed your customer that obviously they've got to purchase that item on pre-sale, and then they know that they're going to get that garment in X amount of time. And this is why it's really important to understand their lead times from when you place the order, because if the lead time is, let's say you get 20 people that have purchased on pre-order, then they need to understand, okay, this is going to be from point of purchase, it's approximately, let's just say 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's part of all of your messaging as well. So we're training our customers to purchase from us because you are more around slow fashion, sustainable, and sustainability. Then part of that is also reducing footprint.
Yeah.
So, and part of that footprint is wastage, landfill, and all the things that go with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one thing that I dare say they will be, one of the questions I'll ask is that if you would be open to using stock fabrics. I think for the moment you should use stock fabrics, because then it will be cheaper for you. There's a lower minimums.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's just whatever's in the market, but you can purchase, if you say, right, I want, I don't know, a pink cotton with a purple stripe, they
Yeah.
may show you 3 options that is available in the market, where it's various, you know, colors of pink with purple, and you can choose that stock fabric for sampling as well as production.
Okay. Yep.
So that's going to be probably a big chunk of what you need to do next. So I know you've been like designing in the background and all of that, but now we've kind of really got to look at, okay, what does my first collection look like?
Yeah.
What are the fabrications I want this to be in? You know, what's the colors? You know,
Yeah.
do I have a balanced range? So if I'm doing, you know, a skirt with a jacket, hat, top, like, is it balanced? If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm predominantly dresses and I want to have coordinates with it, okay, what does that look like? Is that balanced?
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Okay. So I would go down that road first, because if we went the other way, and let's just say we did it separately, then we're going to have to engage with a pattern maker. Now, I know a very good pattern maker. She does stuff, it's all digital. She works with offshore and local. She knows how to grade. she also has the process of doing tech packs as well. But again,
Okay.
it's all at a cost.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one cost. Then if you
Mhm.
go to someone to cut the garment, so that's another cost. Then you've got to find the fabric. That's another cost. Then
Yeah.
you've got to find someone to sew them. That's another cost. And so if we're aiming for our product to be anywhere between $300 and $600, the costs to do it locally in Australia, where you're outsourcing to all these things, your
Yes.
garment will probably end up selling for maybe $1,500 to $2,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why long-term plan, that might be really a really good option, because you could potentially bring those things in-house as you grow.
Yeah.
But short-term plan is that we may have to do it this way
Yeah. Yeah.
initially. And so the one thing I would probably also ask this supplier in Melbourne is, okay, because my business is around sustainability, lessening footprint and so forth,
Yeah.
what do they have in place that is aligned with that? To say, do you have a sustainability initiative? Do you have, how are you guys reducing your carbon footprint? Are your suppliers, do they use or can they get organic or recycled fabrics?
Yeah.
Are they registered, what was I going to say? Registered, there's certain ISOs in China where manufacturers can be get the ISO compliance, which means that, for example, they've got water saving methods in place, or they reduce the the runoff into dams and this, and they have something in place with the toxins or the poisons that they're using, like in the dyes, or they may use
Yeah.
organic dyes and things like that. So definitely ask that question, because again, they may not tick all the boxes, but this is part of, okay, this is step one of my plan.
Yeah.
Okay, ultimately I want to get here, but in order to do that, I've either got to have really deep pockets, or I have to start here, and with every bit of revenue we transition into that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So if you look at have you heard of the label GANI? GANI?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so they did a slow transition into sustainability and circularity. They didn't
Okay.
start off that way, but they slowly transitioned parts of their business into that, because again, it's costly to start out that way unless you've got deep pockets.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose my
And then
question with that is how did they go about, because I know, with social media and everything, it can sort of snowball when people find out, like, oh, you manufacture in China and all that, and then it can kind of like people just automatically assume, okay, that's really bad and all that. Like, how did they go from that to then, okay, we are
transparency.
sustainable?
Yeah, so they put a lot of things in place. So every year they do, and they were very transparent to the point where they broadcasted it across their socials.
Right.
Pardon me. So they broadcasted, this is where we've and I remember seeing it. I just can't remember what year it was. I have a feeling it's like maybe 2020 or 2019 when they started doing this, and they first broadcasted that they've put wasn't a board, it was like an advisory panel, and everyone in the business all came together. They had a discussion, so everyone was in the know around, this is where we want to head.
Mm-hmm.
And then they with that advisory panel, they decided to put in a 5-year, 10-year plan of how they were going to achieve it.
Right.
So obviously at the end of year one, we want to tick these boxes. At the end of year 2, we want to be here. So it wasn't an instant rollover, because again, to go from using fabrications in your business to transitioning into only sustainable or recycled is, and at the time when they were doing it, I think there was only a couple of fabrics that were recyclable. Right. So they had to take a look at the long haul of this and go, okay, we've got these fabrics, we'll see where we can utilize it. We'll transition into using natural fibers, because again, that has a better longevity. Then we'll transition into seeing how we can use organic if we can, because again, that's expensive. Then they started collaborating with, because obviously companies now were, manufacturers, I should say, manufacturing companies, especially fabric companies, were looking at how they can recycle fabrics. So then they partnered with a fabric manufacturer who was doing this, so they could utilize their fabric in, it wasn't all their range. I think it was like maybe 20 or 30%.
Okay, yep.
So again, it's that slow transition, and at every step of the way, they informed their customers. So they looked at it from fabrication. They looked at it in terms of manufacturers. So then when we look at manufacturers, they listed those manufacturers. They listed the compliances those manufacturers had. They listed, you know, they even, because I think part of their policy was also around, the UK have a lot, not UK, Netherlands, sorry, around the Anti-Slavery Act. So again, they had to make sure it was aligned with the Anti-Slavery Act. And so they looked at every facet of their business and slowly implemented change.
Okay.
So that's even accounting, you know, using paper, like going paperless. Every bit of thing you could think of, even swing tags. Okay, do we use a swing tag? Is it recyclable? You know, how is it recyclable? What do they utilize? Like all of this stuff, so they can be transparent about it. So if you go onto the GANI website, if it's a massive website and you wanted to look something up, the information would be there. And every year they have what's called almost like an AGM. So they report on their initiatives around this. So then people can read those reports online.
Okay, yeah.
Because they've promised this, they're now reporting on whether or not they've met that promise.
Yeah, okay.
So again, really slow process. Start with something that you feel is achievable. And that could be something as simple as, okay, I am going to try and use recycled fabrics if I can. If I can't, okay, what can I do that suits my sustainability initiative? And just give yourself a bit of a roadmap. Okay, in 5 years, I want to be here. Okay, let's break it down. What does that mean? To basically day one. Okay, day one could be, all right, we try and use recyclable swing tags and labels. That's a start. Number 2 could be, at least one of my fabrics has to be either recycled or organic.
Yeah.
Okay. And number 3 could be, okay, I'm going to be paperless wherever I can.
Yeah.
Like those 3 things alone is a substantial amount to achieve.
Yeah, okay.
Because then you can talk to this company in Melbourne and say, all right, my 3 goals are this with sustainability. I need at least one fabric that's recyclable or sustainable based on my range. And obviously you've got fabrications in mind. And I need my swing tags and labels to be recycled. So I need options on what that looks like.
Yeah, okay.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So just remember, whenever you're starting a business, you can't go from 0 to 100. It's almost impossible unless you've got, a trust fund that you want to spend some of that money.
Yeah.
And
I wish.
you have a lot of resources backing you. It's highly impossible. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We all start out in that one position where we have to be lean, we have to be resourceful, and we have to negotiate terms, so at least I can get my first range out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because from that, once you get that information, then we're going to use that to go, okay, and they start sending you fabrics and all of that through. So once we have that conversation, we get that information, then we start designing our capsules, and our balance capsules, and we look at what the fabrics and all of that is. Then step 3 is we go back to them and go, okay, here's my first capsule. These are the fabrications I'm looking at. Obviously, we've got to work on patterns and all of that side of it. Can we start this process?
Yeah.
Okay, because whatever those costs are, and sampling costs in particular, we have to be able to factor in those costs that we can pay for that up front.
Yeah. Okay.
And those MOQs, we have to look at what those MOQs are, and making sure that they can do, maybe a sample run as you are in your infancy.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the only other thing we'll have to work on is your size range and what your base size is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who we're going to fit that on as well. So, because if you don't mind me asking, what size are you?
I'm anywhere between an 8 to 12, depending on.
Oh, okay. On the brand.
What brand? Yeah.
Depending on if Zara's having a bad day or not. So
Yeah.
So okay, so probably the question is then, what are your body measurements? That's probably a better thing I should have asked. Do you know what your bust, waist, hip measurements are?
Idea.
Okay, so I'm going to get you over the next week to send me through bust, waist, and hip. Okay, so just remember, bust is, make sure the tape measure is in line with where your bust point is. Okay, and it's a neat measurement. So we don't want it loose. We want it not tight, but neat.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Your waist measurement is around where your belly button is.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sits just above the top of your belly button. Okay, and then your hip, it isn't necessarily the widest part unless, and I'm going to say this with love, no judgment, and there are some people out there where they have hips and then they may have extra curvage around the bottom of their bum, where your thigh is, the top of your thigh. So would you say you're more even, or?
Yeah, I'd say more even.
Yeah. Okay. So if you measure 20 centimeters down from your belly button, that's going to be around roughly the widest part where your hips are.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. And then what we can do is take, when it comes to the time, once we look at what you're designing and we're going to go to first samples, then we can look at getting more detailed measurements, if that makes sense, to provide to them. This is just stock standard, so I can work out, okay, from a Australian design, I guess, fit model perspective, you fit here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, that's one thing that I definitely want with the brand, is to be true to size, because if it's going to start online, I don't really want people to be like, okay, I'm a 10, buy it, and then go, no, it's too small, need to send it back, because I know that
you will always get those women that think they're a size 10 and they're really an 18. Like, you just will. Like, But again, yes, you do want it fitting true to size. And look, most brands anyway have those things in place where the sizing is what they've listed on the website. So if they get a shirt, the only time it won't is if, say, for example, it's oversized, you may have those oversized measurements on there.
Right. Yeah.
You might say the model is wearing a size small. Please note that this is oversized. The bust is measuring X for a size small.
Yeah.
So then they know, oh, okay, I may be, you know, say 88 in the bust, but my oversized garment, the bust is like 95, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I will work on with you.
Thank you.
Once I have your measurements, then I'll send you a size range of, okay, this is where you are, because it doesn't matter if you fit a size 8 or you fit a size 10, it's irrelevant. What matters is, okay, we make sure the fit is correct based on that size.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So the other thing that I've also been thinking about, which is to do with the brand, but also not to do with the brand, is I wanted to do, because my sister's a nurse and she's
nice.
always complaining that she can't find like scrubs that have like certain patterns on them and all this stuff. So I've kind of got in the back of my mind that I want to do as well as this brand, which, you know, maybe is not a good idea to do two things at once, but do a scrubs brand where I just go to a manufacturer and just like say they've got a base of scrubs that I don't need a pattern maker to do or anything, and I just send them, you know, this digital print that I want printed on the fabric, and then they make it. And then
Like
sort
a
of
collaboration.
and then like use the, you know, revenue and profits from that to help fund my brand that I really want to do.
Yep.
So
yep, that could definitely work. Again, different marketing strategy,
yeah,
but it's definitely something that you can do in a collaboration with another company. What you would have to do is research, I guess, scrubs that it's almost like white labeling, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Where you design your own scrubs. Some of them do that. And it'd be, again, I think it'd be working out with them how it would work. So obviously a lot of these scrub places sell online.
yes,
And so it could be a collaboration. And I think what would really work is maybe having a bit of a story around the pitch to them, why you want to do the collaboration with them. So it kind of just isn't because, oh, you know, my sister wants these pattern prints kind of thing. We may have to build a bit of a story around it.
Yeah.
Unless we can find a scrub manufacturer that just loves collaboration, and you get a percent of whatever they sell.
Right.
I think
Okay.
that's how it'll probably happen, because they would have the clientele. The one thing you don't want to be doing is, so you're almost selling them a print design.
Yeah.
And then you get a percent of each item sold through the print design, which could still really work.
Yeah. Would it be worth trying to like have, I'm not really sure how it would work, but like having the brand as my own, like a scrubs brand, like that I start, but sort
So
of
it's
have a
another,
manufacturer. Sorry.
I was just going to say, so have like another arm of your business, so to speak. So the manufacturer, you can purchase scrubs to sell online, so to speak. Like it's a white labeled product that you can sell online under your own brand.
Yeah, but obviously customize it with the patterns.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, there could be opportunities. I'd have to do some research around it. I can't see why not. It's almost like, again, it's like a white labeled product where
Yeah.
you purchase X amount, or you have it online, and when they order, it goes to the manufacturer. It's almost like drop shipping, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll look at something.
Because I found one, I think it's called Bestex, and it says that you can personalize them, but it didn't say anything about the actual like fabric patterns.
Fabric, yeah. It'd
It
be
said you
around,
could choose colors, but not
yeah,
like in print, which is like, well, don't really want to do block colors.
yeah, yeah. Alibaba.com does have it. The only thing that I would be looking at, Best Text, yeah, I see. It's actually, I think it's the brand.
Oh,
It's
okay.
through Alibaba. The only thing you could do is reach out and see if there is that opportunity to do a print.
Okay. Is that something I'd need a tech pack for, given that they'd already
Nope.
have? Oh, okay. Awesome.
No, all you would need, if they're prepared to do the print, you would just need to supply the print to them.
Okay. Yeah.
But the one thing that you would have to do, and this is where it would get tricky, you would have to test the product to make sure the product is a good fit and so forth.
Yeah. Because I was thinking if I did, like, if I got a sample made, I'd get it done in my sister's size and then sort of send her off to work, and then she can tell me if it's practical or not.
Yeah, because I think with just actually seeing, I know with some scrubs they have like wicking and all these other things, these properties. I don't think it's like 100% where they have to. It could be. I haven't really done much. I'm just having a look back sewing with some of these. And I'm not sure if they have a standard. So it's something that you'd have to look at to make sure there's no standards around it. But like, I mean, they've even got like anesthesia hats and things like that, where you may be able to, like, I'm just looking at one now, like you can even get Christmas prints on it.
Yeah. They've got some, I think I saw
Halloween.
sausage dogs and stuff. So I was like, okay.
Yeah. So it might be like if they have some of these things that, you know, even if they've got like sausage dogs and all these cool things, maybe it's getting some stuff that they already have from your sister and getting some interest as to whether or not they like things like that, and you can just order direct. And because it's a drop shipping site, you can just basically connect the drop shipping, you order it, and it goes directly to them if you wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with drop shipping.
Would it still work, like, you know, if I did the bulk as drop shipping, would it still work if I say like, oh, I want to do like 2 or 3 scrubs with a specific pattern? Would that, or it would just depend?
Well, that's what you'd have to look at with the supplier if they're prepared to do that for you.
Yeah.
But I would do some more research because some of these like designs are really cool.
Yeah.
Like they've even got one that's got like the tooth fairy on it. You know, like it's got teeth with and like a teeth with the little fairy wings.
Yeah.
And it's got "Don't rush when you brush" on it. Like that's really cool. One's got like it's a black and white one. It's got like it's almost like a bunny version of Where's Wally.
Oh,
Like
okay.
that's really cool. Yeah, like, and they've got ones with a matching scrub cap as well.
Yeah. Because like I know there is a huge market for it, because it's obviously it's not just nurses, it's, you know, vets, dental, like, you know, all that skin people, like whatever they're called, dermatologists and stuff.
Yeah, dermatologists. Yeah, I'm just going to put this in the chat here in the little chat bar. Hopefully, this is just the Alibaba site I went. If you go to the chat icon and then just click on that you'll see the Alibaba one I've gone to. So that's one of the sites anyway on Alibaba Express. And as you can see, they've got all sorts of things, but you could probably reach out and just say, look, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Would this be something you would consider? The only thing is you may just have to, it may not be a private thing. It might be something that they may want to do, and then it's open for everyone to purchase, if you know what I mean.
Right, yeah.
Which, it's not the be all and end all, but it's just something you may have to consider. They've even got one. Oh, that's cool. They've even got ones that's got like dogs all on it and cats.
That's pretty
They've
cool.
got cupcakes. They've even got butterflies. Well, that's cool. Oh my God. Oh wow, that's a bit gothic. I'm just gonna put this one in so you can see this. So you may even like be able to get away with doing something like this. So have a look at that one. They've got all sorts. They've just got just chinchillin. Oh, that's cool. They've got paw prints. Obviously, this could be for veterinarians, but again, any nurse could. Bulldogs. Like, they're kind of cool.
Yeah.
Especially if you work in like a children's ward.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe research this a little bit more, because again, like, they've got so many different options that you may be able to get away with doing something like this.
Yeah, okay.
But the one thing I would recommend, do some research, and maybe let's have a discussion about it in our next meeting, because you've got a fair bit of work that you've got to do.
Yeah.
So let's do that. Let's try and aim for maybe 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So why don't you touch base with me in 2 weeks to say, okay, Gab, I'm up to here.
Mm-hmm.
Send me through your measurements in the interim. And then once we get that information, then we'll work on, okay, the next phase, which is inspiration and designs.
Yep. Okay. Yep. That sounds good.
Amazing. All righty. Well, I'm going to leave you to enjoy your Friday morning.
Thank you. Same to you.
With your dogs.
Toilet training, all that fun stuff.
Awesome. Love it. Otherwise, keep doing what you're doing. Well done on the information you sent. That was brilliant. And if you have any questions, just reach out. Okay.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Awesome. No worries, lovely. I will hear from you in 2 weeks.
Yes, definitely.
Alrighty. Okay. See ya.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.